Hello, Melanie.
Hi, Melanie.
Melanie Smith.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, I was just saying you're the only guest I've ever had to make notes for, so that's
Wow.
a good thing. I've just remembered the thing I said I forgot about.
Okay.
And we will come to you in a sec, but every week I see this and I forget.
Okay.
So on the way here, I come through, I think it's Oxford Street,
Mm-hmm.
and Gymshark, I didn't think I remember the name.
Yeah.
Gymshark, the fitness brand.
Mm.
There's always a queue outside of about 50 people,
Mm.
and there's somebody outside with like a clipboard, and there's another person next to them, and I don't know if they're doing something on their phones. Why is there a queue to go in the sports brand shop every week?
Every
At
week.
what, 9:30?
That's
What?
mad.
Yeah.
I thought you'd be into that. You'd
As
know.
in, they could be launching like new product, but
Every week.
But for every week,
Yeah, every week.
Maybe they have something that goes on like an in-store activation or something.
What does that mean?
So they might have like a fitness class in the back of the store because they sell gym product.
Yeah, they are dressed up. I thought that was just going in there
and it
for
might
the
be like their
atmosphere.
flagship store, so they've got a bit more
They
budget.
are pretty good
to-
on social media, though.
Bring
Yeah.
that mic close to you. Pull it up to you. That's it. Yeah, pull it up.
Yeah.
Right up. That's it. What I was going to say, talking of sports,
Yeah.
the kickboxing
Oh, yeah. Is
and
that better?
air traffic controller. Is this like an alter ego, or have you done
yeah.
these things?
No, I have. I kickbox, yes.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I am a
wow.
kickboxer.
The air traffic control?
Yeah, that's more of a kind of conceptual, because I wear a lot of hats in my life.
Oh, right. I see.
And that's kind of how I conceptualized myself when I was trying to introduce myself to people. They were
Right.
like, oh, what do you do? And I was like, well, I wear all these hats and I
Right.
oversee a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like an air traffic controller. And then I
Right.
started to use that kind of flippantly.
Oh, okay, right.
And it,
But
it
you do
kind of-
the mixed martial arts or kickboxing?
kickboxing's K1.
Wow.
Oh, K1. Is that
Yeah.
still going?
Yeah.
How long have you done kickboxing for?
About 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did one class and it absolutely destroyed me.
It's the best form of fitness
It's
I've ever
so
had.
intense, isn't it?
Yeah.
But once you kind of get to that
Yeah.
level, I'm sure you feel amazing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the
Actually
discipline
doing
is
that.
insane. It's the most
Yeah.
meditative thing. It sounds ridiculous because you have to focus on not getting punched in the face.
Oh.
I remember I did a kickboxing class once, and the guy said, "You have to call me sensei." And I just walked out.
What?
Well, I'm not doing it. That's not my. I was working in nightclubs at the time, so I was
okay.
thinking, no.
No.
Anyway,
Would
Yeah,
you
none
go?
of that,
Would you
none
go back?
no, I did boxing.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
not did. I went to the boxing gym, but I just thought, not calling you sensei.
What
No.
about Krav Maga? Is that quite a good?
I mean,
thing to get?
that's insane. That's
yeah,
amazing.
that's like good self-defense. I feel
That's-
like I've considered that a few
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
No,
That's
No?
intense.
Don't
That's like
work.
the highest level you can
Yeah.
go. Yeah.
They don't. It doesn't pan out to reality.
No.
Because you
Oh, does
can't.
it
You
not?
can never. He said, I was a new guy that taught it once, and he did it properly. I'm not talking about like tenth down
Yeah, yeah.
round your local shop. And he said he stopped doing it because he realised it wasn't really because you can do all the stuff, but you're still no adrenaline. That's what you've got to deal with, and you only get used to that adrenaline by being in conflict. Because I did security for years,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can't jump over it. You
No.
have to you have to have hate in your face. And somebody pretending to be hateful
Yep.
is still safety.
Yep.
And he said, so once I just thought, he said, so when somebody was leaving, it was a woman, he said, I just grabbed her by the hair and pulled her down. She didn't know it was me. And she froze. I thought, doesn't work.
And what she did Krav Maga.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Yeah, that freeze
Because
response is insane.
You're not
Yeah.
used to it.
No.
Even though you're saying, oh, we're going to put a helmet on, you're
Yeah,
going to
it
thump
doesn't
each other.
translate into the
Yeah,
real
if
situation.
somebody just starts screaming in your face, you don't know how you're going to act. You freeze up. And what happens is, and I remember something, it was in the army, and I heard it again through somebody in the ambulance, and they said, no matter what you're training, when you panic, that's why you have to drill so much, because you will revert back to what you've done the most. So it doesn't matter how many techniques or anything you've
Survival.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it
Literally.
happens,
Yeah.
you might just freeze.
Yeah.
So that's why you have to drill 1,000 times. So then when something happens, you don't think, you automatically do it. I remember seeing a video, they're talking about Mike Tyson when he would throw punches and the guy would go down, and they'd slow the video down, but he's still throwing the punches afterwards in combination because it's so drilled into him that he has to finish the combination. So when, like in security, you wouldn't know how somebody's going to react till somebody gets in your face. So you would end up with people that have been in violent confrontations all their lives, doing that job and being good at it,
Yeah.
because when somebody starts screaming at their face, they don't care. They don't.
Yeah,
they
it's
don't.
true. When you get to that kind of, you're in that fight or flight situation, something does switch in you, and it's not even something you plan or, you know.
Well, that's
it's kind of like
there shouldn't really be
instinct, isn't
self-defense.
it?
You have to have something that's an attack, like kickboxing or boxing. You need something where you can actually get hit and it hurt, like attack.
Melanie, have you ever had to use your kickboxing techniques
Do you know what?
on anyone?
No, and I should have done in one moment because I got mugged in Barcelona once, and ironically, I was on my phone looking up a kickboxing session at a beach. I was going to go to the next day, and then like someone just got me, and I was like, that one moment, I could have like.
There's a lot of spates to them in London. I know a police officer who got mugged in Wood Green.
Yeah,
the guy, she was on her phone at night. She said, "What happened?" And the guy just come down on the motorway. They get a load of speed up along the road, turn the engine off.
Yeah.
Come past, grab the bag, hit the engine,
that
and gone.
exact same thing happened to my friend.
Yeah,
in
That's
Greece.
mad, isn't it? How many people? Oh, in Greece.
Same situation. Somebody on a bike.
Yeah.
We came out of a bar drunk, and she's doing this with her hand, and then he just goes whoop, and it's gone, and he's like gone round.
Yeah. But I think the thing about martial arts, and why I went into it, and what they teach you about it is you shouldn't ever have to use this stuff. So actually, you are going into this to learn discipline and to learn how to carry yourself a bit better. And I did kung fu once, and I won't call him a sensei because I didn't call him that either. But the guy, the teacher, he was like, he told this story, and essentially one day he said he was walking down the street, there was this guy that was like with a chain, like smacking dustbins, and he was like, this guy wants to go for me, like what is going on? Anyway, he crossed the road, and he said the way that he carried himself, he just walked past this guy with confidence and he didn't touch him. And the idea of like doing a discipline like martial arts, what I noticed as well, your confidence changes, the way you carry yourself changes, the way that you just interact with the world. I think it just puts something out there that actually people won't come near you anyway. So they teach you.
Because they know.
They know. And you've got this great, like this air about you that people are like, I'm not going to fuck with her. Cause...
Yeah, people have asked me, because I did security for a lot of years and lived on the street. So I'm telling you that when the people are looking for vulnerability,
100%,
and there's probably 15 little things that all make up one thing.
Yeah.
I say, like, even when you're holding your bag, don't hold it with two fingers. You grab that bag with your fist.
Yeah.
When you're walking down the road, have your hands in fists.
Yeah.
Don't walk down the side of the road. Don't have the confidence to not talk to somebody. Because I tell them, listen, they know what they're doing. Most people will ignore these people. Oh, excuse me, do you know? I said to her, listen, I know people that will. The bank will be that way, the way you're walking, and they'll say, excuse me, do you know where so and so is? And what they're waiting for is any response, because then they know you're weak. I said, if you say anything, that's them going, oh, she's not. I'm going to jump on. Say I don't know nothing. Sorry.
Do you also find like you're confident in your own area, and then sometimes you'll see people coming out of a tube station where you live, and they look lost. And they're like.
Vulnerable prey.
You know?
Yeah, that's the worst thing, to be looking up and like, I don't know where I am.
Yeah, and then them asking, you know, where's the bank? If you're local, you don't really need to think about that.
Just say, as a blanket rule, you're not going to offend anybody. You know nothing. I said to people, just walk, just ignore them. That's what they're used to. If you acknowledge them at all with a no, they're in. Because most
conversation has started.
Anything. They just, I don't know. Where's that shop that's next door? Don't know. Sorry. Or just ignore them. Or as I've said before, with people wearing headphones. I said, people I knew that would mug people looked for people with headphones. They looked for it. So you were
off guard.
Yeah, they said it was perfect. They said, and this was like 20 years ago. They said, it's great because they've got headphones on. They can't hear you run up behind them, and you run, just kick them in the back. They go flying forward. You grab the bag and they don't know nothing.
It's got common sense, really.
I couldn't believe when people would have double headphones on, and it scares me when I see people with headphones. I think a car could come up the curb. Somebody, and you've cocooned yourself away from all the stuff that could be happening in the world.
But do you think they, like, these people, are you kind of saying they're like homeless people, or just the people that are trying to talk to you?
No, they're usually people that are going to try and do something. Well, just chat you up. Like, if it's 11 o'clock at night, there's no good there. There's no, they're not going to be your husband. But you have to, when I say, listen, you don't have to wait for it, because you can't get you caught aware. So if you see someone in the road that you're walking down, tell yourself, just keep walking, don't say anything. Whatever the question is they're looking for any response. So you just keep walking.
I'm sort of conflicted. I feel like part of the reason I don't get into too much conversation is being female. Just especially like depending on time of night, it's not really a conversation to start having when you're a lone female. But But then occasionally there'll be like somebody who looks a bit homeless and you're like, oh, I want to give them some money or say, are you okay? Or,
No,
you know.
You're not going to fix anything and it's not worth the risk.
My dad always talks to homeless people.
No, yeah,
but
that's
it's so
different,
sweet. Like, he actually gives them time and they seem so happy just to for someone to talk to them.
Because I was homeless there's two types of homeless people, right? One is the people that have run away from somewhere. It's been bad and they've ended up there and it's not good. They're usually people that look quite meek and mild and that just sat there on their own and they look scared. Right, you can talk to those people. Somebody that comes up to you and says, excuse me, you got a $5? Or, all right, mate, have you got anything? They're people that have put themselves on the street because they fucked over everybody they've ever met. They've put themselves, they fucked over their parents, they've fucked over relationships, they've stole from jobs. And they're the ones you go, how are you on the street? Yet you're cocky. You've got confidence about you because you put yourself there. Where there'll be somebody else that will just be a kid sat there in the corner, and that's because they're there through no fault of their own. Two different types of people. Because when I was homeless and I left home, I was scared of people. I wouldn't be going up to people saying, excuse me, you got a couple of quid, or what messing about the traffic lights. That's somebody that's put themselves on the street. So they're the people you stay away from. But as a general rule for females, the first thing, don't be somewhere that you shouldn't be. So I said last night to somebody, nothing good happens after midnight. Midnight, you should be on the way home.
It's a different crowd of people that are out, isn't it?
And every hour afterwards, things get worse and worse and worse. And if you're out at 3 o'clock in the morning, well, good luck. Because, anyway.
Yeah.
So,
I'm in bed by 10 these days. I don't know what you're doing.
Me too.
Yeah, you plan to leave at 11. Wherever you're going to be, plan to leave at 11.
Like 8 hours, guys. Jeez.
You won't leave at 11, but you'll leave at midnight. So by 1 o'clock, you're home. But I'll leave at 1. No, because now you missed the cab and now it's 2 in the morning. After midnight, it's all bad. Just go home. Right.
Moving on.
How did we get onto that? Martial arts subjects. Self-protection. So, Modern Renaissance Woman, the podcast.
Yeah.
How long has it been going? It was a year.
Not even a year. Yeah. Let's say.
How many? What was it? Once a month?
No,
Or was it a bit staggered?
They had come out. I'd recorded them. I got on a bit of a roll with it, and there was kind of one after each other, like weekly.
Oh, okay.
But I wanted to stock a load of episodes and then start rolling them out weekly, so I did that. And then I took a break over the summer, and I'm still trying to find. Well, I've got 8 scheduled. But as I was saying before, it's a really niche area. So for me to find these women as well, takes time. They're busy, and
it's all audio.
It's all audio at the moment. Yeah, just because I'm also interviewing people that are all over the world. So, you know, it's easier.
What kind of guests are you looking for your podcast?
So I'll tell you about the Modern Renaissance Woman, if you like. So the Modern Renaissance Woman is somebody that is doing 2 or more things professionally with critical acclaim in their respective fields. So they could be, I've got somebody coming on that's a quantum physicist and a ballerina.
Wow.
Somebody that is an
Sounds
entrepreneur.
Like Theo's kind of lady.
I know somebody at the BBC, high up at the BBC, who was a ballerina.
Sorry,
I'll put you in context.
Yeah,
sorry,
great.
Melanie.
Yeah. Somebody that has been entrepreneur, an athlete, just really a whole mixture. So the Modern Renaissance Woman, like I say, is this person that identifies as a woman, because there's no barriers there. Thank you. But they are a mixture of people, and they're difficult to come by because there's not that many women that identify as this, although I'm starting to realise there's more that are. And they're kind of coming to me now. So LinkedIn, obviously, where we connected. I don't love social media, but it can be really useful. Yeah. And I'm finding it just people are coming to me now, and they're all like, oh, I'm this woman, I'm this Modern Renaissance Woman. And obviously there's, the whole movement around women, feminism, fourth wave feminism, where we're at now. And, there's so much happening in the space of the world of work for women as well. And I think that the way that the world is changing in terms of, not as many women having children anymore. So then what does that mean? We've effectively got this area of our life where we're kind of empty, and we're working out, well, not empty, that's the worst way to put it, but trying to work out, what we're going to do with our lives if we're not dedicating our lives to children. And, I think there's more women like me as well that are trying to dismantle the patriarchy in their own way, but trying to kind of really promote equality rather than, I'm not just bashing on men. I don't hate men, just for the record. I hate some of them, but I don't hate all of them. so it's finding that sweet spot of these types of women. And I think for me, I'm trying to like push this forward as I've never wanted my name in lights, but what I do want to do is amplify the voices of really interesting women. And I think over the last 10 years, I've met some really, really interesting women, and I've just wanted to tell people about them because they're awesome. And I'm like, these women are not getting the airtime. And actually you go into rooms, you go into, you know, tech companies, you go into all sorts of like really progressive things that are happening now. And it's still the white male that is there. And, you know, we're all having these diversity conversations, and where are they falling? But there are such interesting women out there. So going back to my point around what the modern Renaissance woman is, I've realised there's a bit of a kind of a spectrum, if you like. So I studied fine art. My first degree was fine art, and I'm a painter as well, obviously. I'm an artist too. One of the hats that I wear and keeps me up at night. But the modern Renaissance woman, so thinking about the Renaissance, you think about Leonardo da Vinci, and you think about these men who back in the day were the artist, the engineer, the philosopher. They had multiple identities, but they also had the luxury of the time to be able to pursue multiple pursuits because, you know, they were applauded for doing that type of thing as well. So that's kind of the 1492 version or whenever it was. And then if you think about a spectrum and then this long line, they're at one end, and at the other end is every single person in the world that has a hobby, which is a lot of people. So people are coming to me now going, oh, I think I'm a modern Renaissance woman because I like sewing. I'm like, great. I love that for you, but that's not quite where I'm at. But actually the sweet spot in the middle is this kind of modern Renaissance woman, but this sweet spot where you don't have loads of hobbies. There's this like, not granularity to it, but there's this kind of precision where these women are doing things with critical acclaim, and they're juggling, and they're able to hold multiple identities at one time. So I feel like this is, a lot of people identify as a polymath. You've probably heard the term polymath.
I haven't heard polymath. Okay,
so Leonardo da Vinci was a polymath. That is what it means, like to be a Renaissance person and to do more than one thing professionally. You know, we know him as an artist, as an engineer, as a philosopher, and he could identify as any one of those people. And now there's women in this generation, and maybe before, but they weren't celebrated.
Yeah, you didn't really hear of them.
And I'm just trying to, I'm meeting more of them, and I'm realising that is, I think about 2 years ago, I probably realised that's who I was. And I was like, oh my God, why am I feeling so overwhelmed with my life? And I'm trying to do too many things and what's happening. And then I'm like, actually, I can do this. And I think I spent probably like 4 or 5 years really grappling with my identity, working out where I was going to go next, what I was going to do. And I thought, well, I can do some of these things on the side. Like, I was an artist, and then I pivoted into other things for financial reasons and where my life naturally went. And then as I've gone along, I've collected lots of different identities. And I'm getting to this point now where, so Dr. Sarah Beth Burt-Bickerton, who came on my podcast, she talks about this. She does all her research around hybrid identities. And there's more people now that are identifying as this hybrid type of person because they say they're a collection of multiple identities and they work at the intersection of something. So also then going forward, we don't know what jobs people are going to be doing. So people are now starting to think about what is their identity and how can they shape their career? How can they work out who they want to be going forward? So that's kind of what I'm doing. And I'm like, oh, I am this person. I'm kind of this Renaissance woman. And then,
well, you mentioned financial, and a lot of it is people just having to pay bills.
People are
and
hustling.
do other stuff.
100%. Yeah.
So you sort of, I mean, it'd almost be, you'd feel lucky to just go and do a job and have that pay all of your bills and have a future in it, rather than feeling unnerved like you're on ice all the time and go, I don't know how long this is going to last. Here's this other thing. Let me have a go at that. Or I want to do my hobby because I need some extra money. Oh, that's making podcast. Oh, now I can do a podcast. Oh, that's making money. So I think it's sort of, we've been forced to become sort of Renaissance people.
Do you think it includes, the type of person you was talking about that would come on your podcast, would that include entrepreneurs? Would that include
absolutely.
like the self-employed?
Yep.
And the critically acclaimed part, does that mean they need to be recognised?
I think to some degree. I think at the moment to differentiate these people, because otherwise, like, I could have anyone on, right? Yeah. And I'm starting to realise that it might not be just about professional identities. It may be that this modern Renaissance woman, she's not just a female version of the Renaissance man. She's not just a female Leonardo da Vinci. Actually, she might be something more than that. And I talk about like women having it all. But actually, what does that mean? And actually, that doesn't mean having every single thing. That might just be having everything of the things that you want. So I think there's a kind of new age version of the Renaissance person, if you like, where I don't know where that's going to go. But I think the guests that are coming to me and the people that I'm encountering are just really interesting people that are so forward thinking. They work at like cutting edge, bleeding edge kind of technologies, or they can see the future. They're really embedded in innovation as well. And I think there's so many kind of areas that come with that. If you think about the world of work, if you think about identities, if you think about all these, what is the future? We don't know. And everybody's quite scared in a way of it because, you talk about AI and everyone, robots are going to take our jobs. And well, no, they're not actually, are they? They're just going to change how things
we were
happen.
About that.
Last guest, she said I had to do a course in AI.
Yeah.
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's what's important about what you're doing is it's almost show don't tell. I think there's a lot of preaching about what things should be. You go, right, that's good. Mm-hmm. Just give me an example of the person. That I'll do the rest. Show me that it's possible.
Yeah.
And that's not in a strange way, that's not sexy.
Yeah.
Because I learned this through personal development where the person on the stage is telling you something. You go, you don't know anything about my life.
Exactly.
You can't tell me anything.
Yeah.
But if you show me your life, I go, it's possible.
Yep.
Because that through personal development, the thing I learned from was people's lives, autobiographies. Accidentally. I thought, well, if they've done that, then it gives me the will, and you have to find your way. You can't tell somebody and none of your guests could say, do what I did, this thing here. You go, no, I just want to know that somebody can do those things.
Yeah.
So a lot, especially the early days of this podcast, I would always get people on and speak to them about the early days because it's more normalized.
Yeah.
It's very easy to put people on a pedestal, say that's an executive producer from the so-and-so. Go, talk about their baking job when they were 16. Talk about the first day they walked into the BBC because you have to make it relatable. And I really learned that the stories of hearing people do stuff is teaching. It's just not direct.
Yeah.
So that's why shows like yourselves is important because you show, don't tell. Let other people do the work, but let them know it's possible.
Yeah. And also, we don't know where that's going to go. So like I was saying, the guests that are coming to me, I'm now starting to realise, and as I said, like this new age of this person, who is she and, what are they? That is only going to happen, I hate the word organic, that is only going to happen organically based on who's going to come to me. And I can already feel myself kind of opening my arms a little bit wider to be like, oh, actually, she's really interesting. She brings a different dimension. So, it's also, like you say, kind of just leaning into a bit of, we don't know what this is going to be and what it's going to turn into. And I think going back to your point, we can relate to things earlier when we're younger because there wasn't a precedent, there wasn't a blueprint necessarily. Whereas you get past kind of school age and the world of work, so we're so conditioned societally to turn into, oh, I must go and do that, and oh, and then I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to save and buy a house, and oh, should I get married and have a family? That's kind of like it. Then it's really sad.
Yeah, I mean, you sound like me now. The amount of time you said this show that like someone I know's just had a birthday at a certain level and the weight that comes along with it, and because I didn't celebrate birthdays and I don't know how old I am, people think I'm lying. Oh, that's why I was talking about somebody last night. But I see what the years of people's lives have a psychology attached to them that I didn't realise how much it was until they get to 30 and 40.
Yeah.
And their moods are changing, thinking, wow, it's pulling on you that much.
Yeah.
Because I just think, it's silly to know how old you are. It doesn't matter. What have you got to do that year?
Yeah, it dictates.
You go, no, but I have to do it because, you go, but where did you learn that? If you were on the beach and on your own life, you wouldn't have that markers. But you've seen it through adverts.
Capitalism and birthday cards.
Yeah, I've said the adverts taught you that because I didn't have a TV, so I didn't learn it.
What about turning 30? That's a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah, but it's not. It's just another year. It doesn't.
But it's also maybe a gendered thing, isn't it? Because biology comes into it. I think there's biology.
That's the one thing you can't get around for now. Yeah. But you always have to remember as well, when you think of 30 or 40, you're thinking of the previous age, 30 or 40. We're now kids at 40 compared to what your parents were. They were like 70-year-olds. So you always have to shift that back a bit. So when I'm turning 40, go, you're thinking about your parents.
Yeah.
I always say, go and look at Sylvester Stallone. When you think of a 75-year-old, you go, right, that is not a 75-year-old that I remember, because he's got the body of a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
So
but there's something going on in that face that is clearly close to 75.
That's science. It's science and chemicals, but that is the world.
The chemicals part.
Yeah, well, that's what, when your parents are eating bread and butter pudding, they couldn't look like that, but now we can because of that. But so things have shifted.
Yeah.
But you've still got the woman having the child. That is a thing you can't work around to a degree. Although we spoke about adoption in the last thing that everybody should be doing. But yeah, the fact that age is and I sometimes, if I see an advert on a TV and you go, oh, every age they've got it covered. Get your credit card at this age, buy your car at that age. Then you're in a couple. Then you get the house, and then the sofas.
Life insurance starting at 35.
Yeah, they take the mick. They start selling your.
It's insurance, though, isn't it? So there's an economic benefit to it as well.
Yeah, but I remember the days when I was like, I don't fit in any of those brackets.
I still don't. Bollocks to retirement.
They're not coming anytime soon.
Two things: never retiring. That's if you've got a job, and I'm not having a job.
It's a privilege to be able to retire.
But that's my retire from what? The thing I hate doing. Well, don't do that thing. Do something you like. You don't see actors saying, I'm retiring now. You go, well, no, you're not. Because I like doing my work.
Yeah.
Or the fact of the job. I think it's sad that if you say a job is a negative. Like, I never saw it like that.
You spend so much of your life at work. You have to enjoy. Like, I always every time I've changed career or got a different job, the one thing that I always think about is, what's going to get me out of bed every day? Why do I want to get up, and how do I want to spend my day?
Yeah, I don't like weekends because people don't answer their emails. But it's we're enjoying what we're doing. But no, some people think it's a job. You go, forget that. I'm not having a job, even though I've got a job.
Do either of you have a day off?
No, I don't know.
I do. I love a Saturday's my favourite day.
Oh,
I think it's an Aquarius thing. Like, I love a Saturday.
Not Sundays.
I don't mind Sundays. It depends what I'm doing. But as soon as you have to have a real shut down, I'm like, no.
I think you should always. When I look, because I did well, anyway, let's forget about psychology. But you always have to look behind something. So when they're anxious, okay, there's obviously stuff behind that. That's the end result, or mild depression, or people just being sad generally.
Yeah.
I always look and I think there's always that thing missing. There's one thing missing, and it's that you're not getting up for anything. Whenever you're chasing, so I say people this week, you should always have something that you're chasing that year.
Yeah.
So that every day you're closer to that thing. If you were to remove that, and I'm just getting up to do work, then other things.
But there's also a balance, isn't there? Because if you push too much on that, you're not present enough to experience joy. And I'm terrible at this. I'm like, go. Like, oh, what's the next thing? Because you're right, it does keep you going. But without that like balance of, oh, it's all right for me to actually stop and pause. Like I've been burnt out before, and I'm the worst at resting because there's so much that I want to do.
Yeah, I said the burnout thing. So I, not kidding you, sort of figured out last year, I do 120 hours a week. Every Sunday I don't sleep. It's all work. Wow. And I've done that for 10 years. I've heard all the excuses about sleep and all that. And it's your outlook.
Yeah.
I look forward to getting up.
If you have joy.
And that's with horrible work as well. Okay. But even that, I turn that around.
Yeah.
So any work I do, I'll go for a less experienced person on something all the time over I like that person more. I have fun with that person because nothing's difficult. It's all bollocks. Everything could be learned in a couple of days. Yeah. The outside of the sciences.
Yeah.
So the rest is easy. So what I do is find people that I like talking to. How many times do you have to stop pissing about here? I'm talking to the producer. Oh, Kerem looks sad. But where we actually have to... I mean, we could have recorded a podcast. We're recording here for half an hour before we started.
Yeah.
Because I refuse to have work. But if I have to do a job, I'll turn that around. I'll make it. Yeah. And one of the things is, I said this, it's such a big thing. How many times did you laugh today? And that, because I used to say in a week, and then I realised, God, people even forget a day.
Yeah.
People have to say a week because people don't laugh every day. I thought, I have to say that. And because that's little valves going all day. Yeah. So you could say, even though I like this thing I'm doing art and all that, I was still burnt out. But there wasn't enough little stuff letting the valves off. And that's to do with, who am I around?
Yeah.
I don't want to just be around people doing jobs, even though that's the thing.
Yeah.
I want the minutes of the day to be enjoyable while we're doing the job that I like. It's not just I'm doing the job. And you have to, but it's like a proactive thing. You have to see it. You go, that person's fine, but I prefer to do it with somebody a bit more fun, or I don't like them. They're not, it doesn't click.
You've got to have a level of self-awareness though.
That's all it is. And you have to that's the other thing. You have to give yourself markers because you won't be able to keep up with this stuff. So I say things like, ask yourself, how many times did you laugh today or a week? And God forbid if it hasn't been once in a week, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's down to relationships. That person that you think you're with is just fine. That's not enough.
No.
I remember when everyone went into lockdown and there was like celebrities and they were bringing videos up of like, oh, it's so tough being at home and going, well, surely that's like your best friend. And you go, not really.
They're not around them that much.
Yeah, and my kids. And isn't it tough to, you go, but that's your kids. And surely that's your best friend. And you go, it's not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people out there that are just ticking over.
Just coasting.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be in a room with these people.
Not making sort of proactive decisions
about
what they really want.
It's cowardice.
They're happy to just, be safe and...
Well, that's why I say it's very dangerous to get stuck on a ladder too early. We've had this conversation. This is why I say you sound like me. Because when you take an 18-year-old and make them have life decisions that by the time they've got the job, they've gone to uni that they didn't want to do, then they get the car and the fire and they get the flat because they've got the mates and the hotel and now they're 27. But actually, I don't want to be in this law firm. I want to be an actress.
Yeah.
Are you going to climb down that ladder?
Exactly.
Lose that flat, that relationship, and share a bed sit so you can start. People go, how far up's the ladder? Oh, sod it. Or the worst one is, I'll do it next year.
Yeah.
I'll see ya. See you in 10 years.
You know what? I remember one month I shed my skin. No, I broke off an engagement, moved out of my flat, left my job.
Yeah. I did similar. Yeah, when I was 28, I did exactly. I wasn't engaged, but
I was 27. So
there's something around that age because 27 is the age a lot of musicians.
Yeah, I worked from nightclubs. When the people were kids, they always want to be older, but then when they got older, they want to be younger.
Yeah.
And 27, everyone should be set then.
Yeah.
And that's where you sort of go, oh God, I've got to make a decision now.
Yeah.
This is it now that I'm an adult. I can't fight. I am an adult.
But there's still people I know when I was in that environment that was still just plodding along with that. And it was so because there were so many things that weren't quite right, but outwardly everyone's like, oh wow, you look like you've really got your life together. And actually it couldn't have been the complete opposite of that. It literally just was polar opposite.
You have to realise the bullshit in that, that when people come to your house for dinner parties, that's not the relationship. Because I did I did removal, so I've always been in people's houses. And the amount of times I think, more often than not, by quite a way, so this isn't a relationship. It's two people that have a nice house. There's because I would be with people that I want to laugh with and be silly and look odd with and just do weird shit. This isn't. They're not even friends. I don't get this. This is like two people.
Formality.
Well, we spoke on the last podcast about people only in media, and they said, try and move up a big media company. If you're single, they won't have it because they don't want somebody that's got too much of a personality, doing their own thing. They want to know you're locked in, and that you've got the thing now, you've got the kid, and now you can come back to work and we can take you seriously. You cannot move up unless and they can't ask you, but they'll, in general conversation, they'll find out if you are married or not. You cannot be a 30-year-old woman moving up as a journalist. They won't have it.
So when they ask you what your 5-year plan is in an interview and you're like, are you trying to ask me if I'm going to have kids? Because you wouldn't know if I'm going to go on maternity.
The guy said, they just say, so tell me, so forget the things, so tell me about yourself. What's going on? Just ask me, am I married? No, I'm not. Oh, why? Oh, you're not married. Well, we can't trust you then. But that's what it is, and that's built into the system. But you're sort of you're quite Renee. You could speak to because you just saying what you.
Come on the podcast.
I'm definitely the type of person that would watch and
listen what
to your
you
podcast.
Just said. Don't underestimate that. Knocking that on the head. Yeah. That is a set of balls, excuse the pun, but that to have that's not a little thing. And the fact that you had the coffee shop and you do the acting and modelling on the side, that's not a little thing. No. That's the problem with people that are quite special. You think they're actually quite critical of themselves and they don't realise. No, because I hang around a lot of crazy people.
You're going against the tide, aren't you? So
and it makes you the freak. So as I said, I hang around a lot of nutters because they're actually more honest.
Yeah.
They annoy me more, but I know where I stand constantly. I met the what did I say? Yeah, so the girl. Oh, I've got to be careful what I say about her. No, it was about the self-defense. The police officer, female.
It's not the ballerina.
No, this is so. I can remind me about her, but so she's a police officer, and she's nuts, and she's an infomaniac as well. And I'm not talking about in the jokey way. And it's not a horrible problem. It just is what it is from a kid, right? I've known her since she was 18. It's a proper one, like no joking, and it's funny. And anyway, she said, I will go to this. I hadn't seen her for a while. Join the police force. I will meet up at this restaurant. Okay, that's fine. We'll go there. The worst experience of my life, because it was a themed restaurant where I had to sit in a room with two people acting before you could go into the restaurant, and they were doing some Western he-bars.
Was that recently?
Oh, it was a while ago.
Oh.
And I said to her, I said, I was looking at her when we got in and when we finally, the horror had ended, and I sat down. Because you're British, you got to be polite, and I've got to sort of be nice. And, oh, this is great. Because I'm too embarrassed to say, like, I'm being mortified with you acting in front of me while I just want to go and sit down. And we sat, and I said to her, why did you invite me here? And she said, because I knew you wouldn't come if I didn't tell you. If I told you, I went, oh, you sort of got me there. I mean, it's true. I wouldn't have come. And I thought, but she's fine. I know where I stand. Yeah. If people started lying about stuff, which is what normal people do, but she says, well, she feels out of place because she's honest. But what the crazy people are is everyone's nuts and everyone's got all the shit going on in their head, emotionally, physically, sexually, but they hide it. Yeah. You don't, so you stick out. So you look like a freak for being honest, when not being the freak is you repressing everything.
She's a good kind of freak.
But I mean, literally, I could be the same sort of thing. It's not. It's you being you is almost. You shouldn't be saying all the stuff about you and what you are and what you like. Yeah. You should hide all that. You go, no, bollocks. You sit in your misery for the rest of your life.
It's weird, isn't it? Because obviously those groups of people still exist. But I just feel like with time, it's too much effort to not be outwardly really just who you are.
Well, this is why there's so many divorces, because people get to an age, they wait for the kids, it's 40, 45, and they go, sod this now, I don't care what people think, and then they start to be themselves.
Exactly.
And that is literally that. It's like, well, I've got nothing to lose, I'm so exhausted by misery, I'm now going to leave at 40 and go sod you all, and I'm going to be myself. But what a shame
to wait.
Because don't forget, you've got the house and you've got the cars, you go, you're paying for that with a lot of minutes in that house that add up. There's a lot of hard minutes. There's a lot of loneliness when you're sat there with that person.
That's a lot of time to waste as well.
But it's hard minutes. Going home to somebody you don't look forward to going home to. I mean, Ricky Gervais is a good example. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he's been with the same woman since he was about 17, 18, something like that. And his whole thing is like, I just like sitting and watching the TV with her. That's it. And he said, and I want to just go and sit in the pub with me mates, because what happened with him is, it's a good example. Same with myself. That saying, if you find fame before 30, it defines you. If you find it after 40, you define the industry. So he didn't care, because by the time he'd 40, he'd already had he'd been with the same woman. It couldn't define him. But if you have it when you're 18, 19, and they get you then, it molds you, because you're not strong enough. Yeah. So then you don't know who you are. So then there's drugs and all that. Yeah. But he's a perfect example of a good relationship. But when I was doing removals and I'd be in people's houses, just there doing a job, I would look and go, I feel sorry for these people. And I'm telling you, the richer the house, the bigger the place, it became cold. It was like you're going through the 9 layers of hell. To the point.
Was you seeing like behind the scenes, the bits that?
So the way they talk to each other.
Yeah, I did that too. I worked in interior design for a while.
And so we don't want to get specific, but some people I'd go, God, this is like a cold environment. This is not. Because I used to think it was the house, cold house.
Because the house is so big.
It's the people.
Yeah, it's the people.
They're not. And it was almost, you'd hardly ever see anybody in these big houses that were like, it even felt like a relationship. Like I thought, did they have anything in common? Like nothing. But then. Was
there any exceptions to the rule?
No, you could sort of mark it as you went down. So it would be like a young couple buying a house in Muswell Hill. And there would be a fun to it. Yeah. Like, they're friends. That you would talk to them jovial. Whereas before everything was like robotic. I thought, you're not happy if you talk to people like this.
So the people in the pigeon coop, they were the happiest, yeah?
Yeah, I don't want to be that cliched, but I can't think. Yeah, it worked. I remember once I was moving somebody, and it turned out she was a comedian. Like being inappropriate. So they don't run boxes. So we just had to pick the boxes up, and some would have penises on it, and some would have boobs.
Oh, nice.
His and hers.
Now, do you get it?
His and
Right,
hers. Yeah.
But I panicked.
He thought he was handling some sex toys.
Talking about panicking, like you can't see the wood through the trees. So I was thinking, right, do I say something or do I not? Because I need to cover myself here in case they don't know. Like maybe a friend's done it.
Yeah.
But I'll get in. I don't know what's going on here. And then I did say, she said, yeah, no, she said, we put them on now. She said, I'm a comedian. It's probably not appropriate for that. So it's like an inside joke. She said, but I realised you have to say something in case like they thought, she said, who put these on our boxes or something? But yes, I froze up then. I thought, oh God, what do I do? There's penises. But yeah, it made sense like afterwards. But yeah, so that was so it was like, it seemed like there is a statistic. I think we brought this on the last show. We'll get off this. About the more money that's spent on a wedding, the relationship divorce rate goes up as well. Right, so yeah, you'd be a good Renaissance woman, jacking all that stuff in.
If you want me,
I'd love it. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to ask you now. I'll listen to the show when you ask her about why and how and how it all worked out.
Yeah.
Right, so. What do you do, the artist thing, and what have you got going on? So you got podcasting now.
Yeah, so I guess the hats that I wear, I'm a podcaster, I'm an artist, I'm a writer, and my full-time job.
Oh, your blog, right? Yeah, are you still doing the blog? Is it a blog?
It's not a blog. I'm
articles.
Medium partner program.
Yeah, Medium, that was it. Yeah.
Partner, whatever you want to call. Basically, I can get paid pittance.
Yeah,
as you might imagine, for writing on the internet. But that's also kind of where it started, because after I had this disastrous trip away where I'd got mugged and whatever else happened, and I was like solo traveling, and I'd done that a lot that year. I was like, this is the last time I'm doing this. Like, I'm fed up. I was already fed up of being like, I just want to share this with somebody, and it's great. I've proved to myself I can do it. I don't need to like keep going and traveling on my own and conquering the world. And then that happened, and then I came back and I was like, oh, I need to like do something with this. I need to write about it, like get it out. And I was already writing anyway. And then I wrote this piece, and my friend read it, and she was like, you've got to publish this somewhere. Okay, cool. No, where do I do that? And then I'd done a few things on Medium, and then realised they had a partner program. So then kind of signed up for that, and then just started to get traction. And then I think the thing for me, and as an artist and as any creative, I don't know if you might be able to relate to it, but it's not that I want bad things to happen, but I find that I am able to process things kind of cathartically through doing creative things. And then I can kind of get a bit quiet in my work if life's going well.
Yeah.
And I almost need that, like, just need a bit of shit had to happen. And then I'm going to like do something really creative with it.
And then you work through the shit, don't you?
And then like all this amazing artwork comes out and people are like, whoa, like, wow, this is awesome. And I'm like, oh yeah, this is like my therapy piece that I hadn't realised.
I also feel like it's part of experiencing life, isn't it?
And it's a way to express. Like, it's just how I do it.
Life isn't just like, oh, well, for the majority of people, I feel like life is like this.
Yeah.
So if you can kind of make that into beautiful art, then you know you're experiencing life fully.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think that there's not a lot of art in any sort of music, whatever, that comes from happiness. It's all pain. I mean, I can't
some
imagine.
of the best songs that are written are really like painful breakups and stuff.
I mean, bands, and it's all to do with I can't express myself, but through this medium,
I don't purposely go and look for these things. I just like to say, but you know, I also feel things quite deeply. Like as a creative as well. You know, I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm starting to wonder now if I'm on some spectrum somewhere. You know, I'm very sensitive to a lot of things, and how I process that is through writing. And you know, now I have the podcast to begin with. I was like, I don't know, because I don't know if I'm quick enough in real time to be able to be articulate enough. I'm very good at like absorbing things, going away, letting them like percolate a bit, and then writing about them. Or, you know, these art pieces that I've created, I hadn't realised until after I've seen it, and I'm like, oh my God, like that just sums up like the last 6 months, and I hadn't even thought about it. Like it just comes out. So it's a really interesting process.
What you write on Medium, does that tie into any of your other work, or is that sort of general thoughts?
It's a mixture. I think it did to begin with. So like I was saying, the experience that I had, that's when I came back and wrote the air traffic controller. And that's when I was like assimilating lots of experiences, because also that was the point where, so I got to 28, a relationship had ended, I'd moved out, I'd moved back in with my parents for a little bit just because of situation. And then I was like, what am I going to do? Like I've had a very squiggly career, but I've always been somebody that hasn't wanted to plan too early, so I don't feel trapped. I've always been like, where do I want to go next? Like, what's that thing that's pulling me? So I've kind of mapped my life in that way, and then got to this point where I was like, it's a struggle to be an artist. Also, I graduated in the recession, so that's one thing. I had an experience at that time which was really good, and I thought it was going to go somewhere. Like I had an agent, and I was painting for celebrities, and I was doing all this stuff, and it kind of fizzled, and for various reasons that I won't get into. But I then kind of went into other things, and that's when I then went into interior design, and then was like, something missing. I loved it, but it was so materialistic. And I just felt like for me, it wasn't where I feel that I could add enough value that felt authentic enough. So then I get to like this phase of like 28 and I'm like, oh, what is happening? And then I was like, I need to put this value creatively into something else. I'm a systems type person as well. How can I change a system, and what do I want to do with this? Well, I want to teach others. So I trained to be a teacher. And then was like, holy shit, this education system in the UK is insane.
What about the kids?
The kids were great. Like, I loved that. And it was nothing to do with that. But I think at that point, that year was I call it the ultimate pivot. And because I got myself into Cambridge at 28. Like, who does that? I applied to Cambridge University off my own back and through my own merit. Didn't have loads of money to my name. And was like, this is where I feel like I want to go. And I did. And I went and I took a year out, and I went there for a year, which was, a huge risk. I was 29, not earning any money.
And did you feel like
I went to be a full-time student?
With your friends, like your friendship group, were they supportive, or were they did you kind of feel like you were doing the polar opposite to them?
Oh, absolutely polar opposite. I mean, and the other thing for me is that I wouldn't say I have a friendship group. I know lots of people in different places.
Yeah.
So I never felt that I had it wasn't
Friends. It was like, there's an episode of Friends. It's just a human being.
100%. And I was like, do you know what? And I'd also been through some various things like in my early 20s, which were quite traumatic, that also shape you, right? And I think you do get to that point where you're like, it's my life. Like, fuck this. Do
you look back on your journey and do you feel sort of appreciative of where you've got to?
Like I can't, and this is an interesting thing that I said to somebody who came on my podcast, in 30 years time, we will never have planned, we would look back and be like, we could have never planned that, which is amazing in itself. And I think as anyone that's a creative or wants to do something which, where you do feel a misfit or you feel out of the box, or you're just kind of making it up as you go along because you're like, I don't fit in there. I don't know where I'm going to go, but that doesn't feel like where I want to go.
And you honour that as well, because a lot of people don't.
Yeah. But I think you do get to a certain point, and I don't know if it was the same for either of you, where you're just like, I just don't care. I literally don't give a shit anymore. This is my life.
Yeah, I never cared from the start. I never had any structure. Yeah. And when I would do multiple things, not knowing that you weren't supposed to do multiple things, because it works against you. People, even though you're doing them well.
I think some people are judgmental as well.
But it's really weird. It's just like, well, you can't be doing two things. You go, well, I can. You can't.
I always say to people, if you're trying things, good for you, because you're finding out what ticks your boxes and what makes you happy and what you get up for every day. And, there are people that play it safe, and if that's for you, that's fine. But I feel like at least you can say, I've done this, I've done that, I've done this. This didn't work for me. But now I'm in a place where actually this is more who I am and this is what I want. But you're not giving yourself that opportunity to find that if you're not trying out what works for you and what doesn't.
No, you should always be doing new stuff. You should be saying, what have I done? Ask yourself, what have I done? Not just, it's my philosophy. Ask it, what have I done that's different? I'm constantly surrounding myself with people. The more different they are from me, as long as I share the same spirit, you can laugh with that person. That takes care of everything else. And I want to be around people that are the most different from me as possible, because I want to hear things that I would never have heard, that I'm not going to figure out. I've said before, I keep saying on about it, but every year I just download I pick numbers and I download audiobooks based on that number, and I force myself to listen to them, and I don't want to. It's just so nothing. It's just nothing, and you learn something from if you stick with it, and then it becomes a thing. You go, wow, I'm missing out on not speaking to new people and doing weird things. And I would always make sure that I have goals that I get up. I know what I'm doing that week, and I know that it's heading towards a thing. But I also have other things So then when that thing isn't slowing down, because that's what happens in life, well, you haven't got the money for that, then you work on that thing there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
You've got a couple of things going on.
It's too risky these days to
and
not
because
have
you
multiple
you don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
You don't know the doors that are coming. You cannot know the doors that are coming. And the lie is, if you hear any autobiography where I had that goal from a kid and I head towards it, you go, yeah, you're the random one. That's not set in stone, because there's 1,000 people that did exactly the same thing. It didn't work. So that's not something to look at. That again, that pedestal. If I do that thing, no. What you've got to do is have stuff that gets you going, but understand there's doors that are going to open and close that you cannot see. That's why I say you have to put yourself everywhere. You have to introduce yourself, because there's doors that will open that you can't see yet. Where when you do it on your own, it's very lonely. And that's the worst thing, especially with creatives. They retreat into themselves over time. I say you can't do it. You've got to know you're doing it. It's not a weakness.
It can also be lonely because potentially who you're around don't understand that journey.
Yeah, well, when I was putting the magazine together, at one point I was filming a comedy. Right, I'd never done it. I didn't know how to film anything, and a magazine, produce a magazine, and doing the podcast. So at one point there was 50 people that I was doing from a bed sit. No, I had an old computer. And I was in relationships with people that I couldn't even tell them what I did. They thought I was doing the night job.
Wow.
Because
they didn't understand it, or
no, I'd learned that they'll if they're not like you, they'll kill you with their love over time. They'll give you safe routes out. Oh, look, you're struggling so much. Look, I'll speak to somebody's brother. Why don't you do that next year? I thought, no, if you give me that, I need it. But if you give me that out, then that next year will be 3 years. Don't make me you. But they're trying to keep you safe because they love you and they care about you. So they will kill you with their love. But they're trying to do
put doubt in your mind? Like, did they ever go, oh, are you sure about that? Like,
no, I got these rings made up because once I had doubt where it was just like 4 years in, nothing. Every day, nothing's not working. And it was the long journeys on the trains back at night. And every now and again, I'd just be like,
I hope this is worth it.
There's nothing, I don't know if this is going to work. And I've got all these other skills and everyone's telling you, why are you still doing that? Why don't you do this thing here? Why are you wasting your time? And it just sort of creeped in. So I got the rings made up so I could remember people like Oscar Wilde and Malcolm
remember
X.
yourself as well. Don't let the doubt talk you out.
Yeah, there's only one chink, but because I just thought, no, I'm not you. So you're sort of lying to me to protect me. So then I realised over time, they'll get you on the wrong day where it just you'll be down, and then they'll say, listen, I spoke to somebody's brother, he said that, he did that, come back and do this next year, and you make that deal with the devil, you'll never come back. So I thought, I'm happy doing what I'm doing and I'm excited that it might happen. So I'm just gonna I'd not tell people, because it was easier to just not do it, which is mental. But that's about because I was in the position I was in, I couldn't help myself, I couldn't pick who I was around. I remember working with the removal company when the magazine just got completed, and I didn't understand computers, and I didn't know when somebody's got your phone number, it will say like it's connected to your Facebook thing, and then it'll pop up. And the boss got, and he said, "Is that you?" From this removal company. I was like, "Oh Jesus!" I thought, I can't go back now. But yeah, but the thing I noticed with creatives is you naturally retreat inside yourselves, but you have there's nothing's ever wrong as long as you know it's there, because you can fight against it. That's come back to like knowing who you are. The worst parts about you are fine. You're just around the wrong people. So you have to face up to it. You have to. I said to somebody, like, you're mental, like you're proper nuts, but you have to know that, and you have to be around people that aren't like you, because you're not going to do that thing. You just won't do it. It's like the Ulysses Pact, and knowing who you are, because you've got a plan for that. I'm a lazy bastard. That's fine. You just have to have somebody that will make you not a lazy bastard. Even that. And I say to you, you're nuts. What you're doing is great, but you get too excited too early and you're going to burn out and you're not going to carry on because you're too up and down. You need somebody that's not like that. Or I spoke to somebody recently talking about trying to get a book out. Anyway. And I said, you're too nice. I said, you need some money-grabbing bastard that likes your story.
I can just imagine you sitting down and you need to do this.
But it's all kiddies, basic kid stuff.
But almost like that kind of thing where you need someone to tell you how you're holding yourself back. I feel like you'd be a really good person to be like, I see this in you. You're holding yourself back in this way.
Yeah, but there's lots of, so a guy I worked security with, young guy, I said, listen, even though I've been on the streets and home and left home and all that, I said, you don't realise you've got it worse than me, because I had nobody to tell me anything. So the nothing was my void to run into.
Yeah.
You live with a girlfriend and you've got a kid and your mum. You've got people that are going to constantly be telling you not to do so. I had nothing.
Yeah.
And I said, that's your hardship there. You've got to, but it is what it is, but you've got to work around, but know it's there. Know that they're going to try and protect you, but they're going to try and make you them, because they don't want you to waste your life.
It's not necessarily, like you said, them being negative. They might just be trying to tell you in a way that they only understand.
Your mum does not want you to be an actress and have nothing, and be 25 years old and have nothing. She loves you.
It's like projecting, isn't it?
Yeah, but you have to go, I know what this is and I know why you're doing it.
Yeah.
But I won't tell you all the details. I can't tell you the bad times, because I know this situation. And one day I'll be down, and instead of just carrying on, you'll say something and I'll go, yeah, you're right. And that's the end. So you have to know they're the enemy, but it's not a negativity, but that's the reality of the world.
You've got to come into it in your own time, I think, as well, don't you?
But no, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to be broke.
Yeah.
There's no way around.
You
I'm
need
going to
be very resilient, because there are a lot of people with a lot of opinions.
Yeah.
And I feel like, especially when you're younger, it's so easy to be influenced, whether you outwardly show that you are, to be influenced by what people say. And they can just, there are people who have had one comment said to them.
Yeah.
And they're like, they remember that comment 5 years later and how much it changed their perspective, and it could be in a positive or a negative way. So you have to be so resilient when you want to kind of
when you're a kid, you just can't. You see, so I just say to people, don't make any decisions till you're 30. For the love of God, don't get a mortgage, don't get married, don't do anything, because you don't know anything. I don't care if you're 25. You're an idiot at 25. We said this last time. Your 20s are nothing.
Yeah.
Your 30s are clearing up all the shit from your 20s.
You know it there at that age, don't you? You think you're an adult.
It's a time to experiment.
And the world is constantly going, grow up. Let's monetize your growing up. Let's get. And then you get to 30 and go, how did I end up here? You go, oh, right.
Or did you say you're cleaning up the mess of your 20s?
Yeah, the 30s, you're just cleaning up all the shit from your 20s, because you fucked up. And now I've got to deal with the relationship I don't want to be in, the money of the job I don't want. Now I've got a car finance that I didn't want to pay for, because you don't know anything. Yeah. 30's not your I said to you before, 30's not your parents' 30. That's nowadays 30. Yeah. So you're still a kid.
Do you know what? My nan became a nan at 39.
Wow.
So what's a nan?
Isn't that mental?
A grandmother.
That's mad.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah, that's mental. So she was probably just figuring out her life.
The best thing
She's like, I'm a nan, I'm grandmother.
if you can get to 30 and just be free, Jesus, you've made it.
Yeah.
I know the world, but see, that's the thing I didn't realise. From like media and all that, and when you're around the wrong people, I didn't realise how much of a pull that has on people.
Huge.
But when you haven't got it...
Absolutely.
I deleted my Facebook probably about 10 years ago. I didn't use it that much. And then I did. And you're right, when I got to... just graduated from Cambridge, and then spent 4 years working there at the engineering department as well. But within that time, that was when I was kickboxing. I was single, had no responsibilities, deleted Facebook, was like, I'm in my own lane, and actually this is doing me the world of good, and I wouldn't change that for the world. And I still do that now. I'd have to do the social media stuff to, you have to use it as a mechanism, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's humiliating, but you got to do it. That's one of the things. You have to sort of make it work for you.
But it goes back to that point about being self-aware enough that even when you're on it, it's being like, oh, I suddenly feel a bit shit. Why is that? Oh, do you know what?
No, I have a thing. I will not do that.
Don't scroll.
Scrolling.
No such thing. Just that. If I see myself doing that, so like, I'll now it starts getting psychotic, but like, I will not watch an advert under any circumstances. If an advert comes on, I will walk in the room and turn it over. I will not let it in. So like when I was at the cinema, I was feeling sick watching the adverts. I was thinking, is this like mocking people?
Yeah.
Like, it's so quirky, and here's the bought house and the sofa and there's the dog. I'm thinking, I just feel sick. This is like it's like propaganda watching. I don't mean to sound it like that, but I actively don't. And I will not scroll anything. If you scroll, you're wasting your life. Yeah. You should have fucking something to do. You shouldn't. That's for kids. And adults, you go, let me just see. No, pay your bills. Go and get a job. If you've got time to do that and look at what everybody else, never mind. It's like sticking your head out the window and go, what's everybody doing? Who cares? Go and pay your bloody bills. The action. I won't even do that. Forget I don't scroll. No. I don't even do that. If I do, I go, what am I doing? Yeah. That action should be like muscle memory. Go, right, get up.
Exactly.
Get a book. If you've got time to piss about, think about it. So put a headphone, do something, but do not look for adults should not be scrolling.
Yeah.
That means you've got nothing going on.
Yeah. That's why I don't really like watching TV. I watch Netflix now and again, but I'd rather, after a busy day, regardless of what I'm doing, sit down and just read a book.
Yeah.
Like, I like learning things, and as soon as I start watching, well, I haven't watched TV, terrestrial TV, whatever. Does anybody even have that anymore?
Yeah, and it sounds antiquated.
Yeah.
It's an advert in the middle of the film.
But yeah, literally adverts. And like, so when I first graduated, I had a part-time job as a makeup artist in a well-known department store. And I liked the artistry of it, but I hated the fact that they were like, oh, so have you sold 3 products? I'm like, no, I'm not going to force people to buy shit that they don't want. Like, I don't want to spend 50 quid on this eyeliner. Who are you? Like, I don't. And it was from that point that I was just like, I can't force people
at a certain
to buy
point,
stuff.
you have to go, who am I? I can't do those things.
Yeah.
I might as well die.
Yeah.
It's that serious. And I can't explain it to you, which means the reality of who I am is I've got to go off on my own and do my own
do
thing.
something different.
So like when I was putting the magazine together, I had a sick feeling. It was like one of the biggest lessons in my life that happened in like a 3-second period where I was desperate for asking people, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I didn't even read magazines. I'm trying to put this 100-page magazine together, all these articles about certain things. And I kept going to people and going to people and going to people. And I was at a private members club with a woman who was like the second female editor ever in England. And she was in her 60s, and I'm talking 15 years ago. And I was talking to her, and after like 4 years of people and them not understanding that I didn't want to put adverts in the magazine because I wanted to just say stuff that this is it.
Yeah.
And she was just questioning me about how am I going to do this and how are you going to do that. And I was answering stuff, but she wouldn't accept it. It was like, but what are you going to? Who are you going to get to work for free as an editor? Well, I have. Who are you going to get as a photographer? Well, I have. Anyway, and then she just said something, and it just dropped on me. The worst thing you want. When I realised, I'm asking people from the way the world is now, not the way I want and what I'm trying to do, and that sinking feeling of, oh no, you got to do this on your own, because you always have the thing, and you go, but I just need somebody to sort of give me a bit of a hand up, and realising, no, what you're doing, nobody's doing this, and now you're on your own. You've got to go first, and knowing. It might not even work.
Exactly.
So now you're on your own. You've got to go off track. There's the tribe over here. You've got to go into the forest and you're basically a lunatic because you don't know if this is going to work, but something's pulling you that way.
Yeah.
But that sickening feeling of realising, no, I'm on my own. Yeah. I've got to somehow, and I don't know if it's going to work because there's a void in front of you. And you go, I've just got to sort of put one foot out and hope that I don't fall off the end of the mountain.
Yeah.
But that's something you've got to teach about yourself. You go, that's the deal I make. It's either that, which is the safety. I could go back to it if you want. You don't have to go and sit, but know what that is. Because there was a saying before, they said, like, it's not like, there's not safety and like you might risk something, but you might fail. The safety might fail.
Yeah, well, of course.
But being safe you still might end up miserable.
Yeah, it's not guaranteed.
No, so you might as well just go for the bloody thing.
Yeah.
But knowing that I was happier with the unknown, but doing the thing I like every day.
Yeah.
Because I could always look back at other people and go, fuck that.
I don't know about you, but I seek out those experiences. I go and find the forests on purpose.
Yeah. Because the thing is, as I said to the young guy, and it's a weird thing that life gives you back, is that when you do things and you don't know what you're doing and you don't know if it's going to work, and I was explaining to him, the good thing that's out there, it's like hidden, but it's guaranteed, is that if you start just doing shit, doors are there that you can't see now. You can't even imagine them. You can't not bump into somebody after 5 years. You can't not hear somebody and somebody goes, oh, I'm so-and-so and I'm that. But I said, I promise you, those doors are out there. I can't guarantee you when they're going to come, but you're not going to just do this forever on your own and nothing's ever going to happen. Yeah. So just do stuff and try and make the days of doing those things happy. Yeah. Don't do a lot of what creatives do, is just retreat into themselves and think, I'm just going to do it on my own, because that's a hard day when you're doing stuff on your own. Yeah. But you might be that type of person. So you go, I've got to do stuff to make me get out the bloody house. Yeah. I've got to do stuff like a podcast. I've got to speak to people. Yeah. I want to talk to people that I don't know. But you have to force that in. Yeah, you do. Because otherwise you just go, well, my safety. No, your safety isn't good enough. Yeah. You've got to force yourself to do stuff, because it's like social media. You've got to be out there. because stuff's happening, but the world doesn't give a shit about you. So you can sit there on your own and go, well, tomorrow, or I'm not going to do it because I'm not like that. Well, good luck doing it on your fucking own, because it might not happen.
Melanie, and your day is quite varied. Then do you sort of have different projects that you've got sort of on a daily basis?
I think so. I mean, I have a full-time job, so effectively, but within that full-time job it is the most varied thing as well, because of the type of job that I have and the amount of stuff that I have to oversee, and all the strands that I oversee to make stuff happen. But then I have the podcast. I've got an episode next Friday that I need to record. I've got to do the research for that. I've got to think about it, and then I've got an exhibition coming up in the week. There's a private view on Thursday. So I've got to put that artist hat on, and so every day is. I wouldn't say every day is the same at all. It is very varied, but it's peaks and troughs based on obviously what is happening. But also for me, I find myself getting into these little cycles where maybe after like 4 weeks, I'm like, what is going on? Like, I do not feel good. Like, have I just been like, go, trying to, and then I get in this like hamster wheel.
Are you aware that you need to make sort of little tweaks to get back on centre again?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I've always been quite good at that. I think for me, I have this, and I always say that I'm a walking paradox because it's part of my personality, but like I'm somebody that hates marzipan and loves almonds, and I'm just like this walking paradox, literally. But I find myself, I don't know if it's a reluctance to rest, but there's so many things out there that I want to go and do, and then I'm like, but I have to factor in the rest, and I'm like, oh shit, I didn't do that.
Do you have the time for all of it? Like, do you feel like you've got enough time to produce the art you want to produce?
No. But then, does anyone? I think if you're trying to do multiple
juggling,
things,
isn't it?
And it's really interesting. Somebody that came on my podcast, before they came on, I listened to a podcast that Jimmy Carr was on, and he was basically batting like this polymath multi-potentialite, being like, well, that's impossible. You're never going to produce anything of worth or anything that is any good if you're focusing on multiple things. You need to focus on one thing and be an expert in that one thing. And I'm like, I don't know if there's also quite a gendered argument as well. Women are very good at.
I don't think that's necessarily.
No, it's not true.
I don't think it was true at all.
You don't know what's going to work.
You don't know what's going to work.
It's not that all have to work perfectly, but one will always pull you ahead further than the other ones.
But I also think, and it was going back to something you said earlier, but for me, there's like this societal conditioning that, follow that path and you must go and do that thing.
Yep.
But for me, I understand that my personality and who I am, I thrive in these environments where I'm doing multiple things. Because like you say, if one thing kind of dies a slow death, if you haven't got anything to pick that up, but also for me, they feed on each other.
Yeah.
So my writing feeds into my art, and my art certainly feeds into my podcast experience. I meet these really interesting people on the podcast. Me just being a creative, one day I was like, I'd never planned to have a podcast. I was writing, and then I read it out loud and was like, oh, I want to talk about this.
Yeah, and also every
and
year you sort of look
right?
back, you think you're you now. In 10 years, something could happen that something like you're writing, and then they write a book, and then they make a film, and they ask you to film in it. And then you look back and you go, when I was sat there then, I thought that was it. I didn't realise it was all going to change, and now I'm there.
There's more to it, isn't it? And everyone, I feel like you're interested in different things as well. So
but you don't know what you're interested in.
You're going to try things, aren't you? You're going to go for different things and see what takes off, and you might leave a few things behind.
You just have to do. You have to do a lot of stuff and know that it will click into place somewhere, but you don't know it.
Yeah.
But make sure on the way, those days, you have laughter in them, because the laughter, it's like two things, laughter and sleep. They say if you're laughing or you sleep okay, then more or less everything's all right.
Yeah.
They're two barometers. Yeah. If you're not sleeping, there's a problem. If you are sleeping, then you're probably all right. Yeah. And if you're laughing, you're probably all right. So you have to have those two markers in place constantly. But you can't trust yourself. You lie to yourself. So you need those markers. I said to somebody the other day, and I say this before, you should be able to put your socks on. We were talking about fitness, standing up.
Yeah.
If you have to sit, the second you start sitting down, you might as well get a wheelchair. Don't force it.
Is that a general rule to do with
it's
fitness?
to do with balance and health and weight.
Squats are the one thing that you need to do. Squats. Everyone should be able to do a squat.
Well, single leg squat.
You
should be able to do a single leg squat, because that's your own weight, and people can't. But that's to do with.
I feel like all women can squat.
No, that's fine.
No,
it's fine. No, it's fine.
Mine was completely
No,
innocent.
but
I mean, like public restrooms, they're not the nicest. That's where I was going with that.
You have to know you're not trustworthy. You have to have markers in place to ask yourself a question. Did I laugh? Did I sleep okay? Yeah. The health. Can I put my bloody socks on without having to sit down? No. Then that's a marker to say lose some weight. Yeah. It's I
sit down and put my socks on.
Yeah, but you probably can, but it's just something you do to say, can I do it? Just so next time you do it, put it on. And you go, one day when you can't, you go, okay, look, I should be able to put a bloody sock on me standing up. It's just a little barometer. Yeah. But you have to know, you have to look at yourself from the outside. That's when I turned my life around. I realised, we are just apes still. We're the human. It's like an ape with an ego. That's what it is. Yep. It's, aren't we smart?
Paradox.
Eat, sleep, shit, fuck. You haven't changed nothing. Yeah. You've just looked different. You put funny clothes on. Yeah. The rest, and when you realise that, you go, I'm on autopilot quite a lot. Yeah. And there's external things hitting me and that's why I said all the time. I used to like your accent. Where'd you get your accent from? Who gave you it? Nobody forces you. Yeah. Well, where'd you get it from? Yeah. Tiny little things every day, and it's real. Yeah. And you go, oh right, yeah, I am being affected. Yeah. So you go, when you know that, you go, right, stay away from that person. Click that again there. Yeah. I'm not laughing enough and do that. I'm not resident. I'm going to do that. And when you start to get the gears in place, you start to control the monster. But then when I sort of people that don't know any of that, Jesus, you don't know. You're worrying about what age you are. This person's got that. Yeah. That's like you're just sitting on the back of something, and it's just wherever it goes, it goes. Yep. Like that. And it's so simple. And that's the thing when I put the magazine together. Everything's childishly simple. Yeah. You just have to cut out all the shit. Yeah. And my secret to doing it all was I didn't have all the bullshit. All the stuff that you think you learn was all the stuff that I did stuff because I didn't realise I was supposed to have all that weight on things behind me. The perfect example is when I used to go to the publishers and ask to speak to people that own the publishing company. Just walk up and open a door and say, can I speak to the owner? Because I didn't understand hierarchy. Yep. And they'd mostly say no, but then some would say yes and then they'd help me. But I just thought I didn't, and now I'm embarrassed looking back that I did that because I thought, God, who do the balls of you to just walk up?
Yeah, but sometimes you need that.
Yeah, well, Awesome Wells, he said it's when he was asked how did you film Citizen Kane the first time, when he was quite a beatnik sort of guy and films were just that scene, full length shot, the couple kiss, there was only the filmmaking was very robotic. And then he comes along from theatre and he's doing zooming in shots and he's got shots from behind people that are where the other person's not even talking, but you can only see their shadow. Yeah, yeah. And they said, how do you know to do all that? And he said, ignorance. Yeah. He said, ignorance, no confidence can match it. He said, if you're walking along the side of a mountain and you don't know that's a mountain, people think, he's confident. You go, but I didn't realise. Exactly. So that was my thing. I didn't know. Yeah. But so the thing that saved me from my bad background, not having it, the thing that got me ahead was absolute ignorance. Yep. Not as a bit silly, absolute ignorance of the way the world should work. Yep. So like a child, I just went directly to stuff. I didn't need to get a degree and do the thing there. I just went to that, and then that helped me there. Yep. So the age thing, why I don't know what age I am, because I didn't celebrate them. So the chronology didn't take in my DNA. So I don't know. I don't ask people's age. I don't know what age. When the birthdays come around, I go, it's so silly. I feel bad for people. And they look at you like there's something wrong with you. And I think, I just feel sorry for you that you've got this, you've learnt that. Like what year? Ooh, it doesn't make any sense. You've added that in.
My dad starts counting backwards. I can't remember what age he was. He got to an age and he just started to count backwards.
And they must just give up eventually.
My parents have been like, how old am I again? They purposefully try not to remember now.
Yeah.
What type of art are you doing then?
So I started doing a mixture of portraiture, but I was really into photorealist art. So and my dissertation at uni was around the hierarchy between photography and photorealist painting. Why would you sit and spend, I don't know, 40, 50, 60, 100 hours painstakingly painting this picture when you could just go and take a photograph?
And it's not feminist stuff, it's general.
It is feminist stuff.
It's only.
So my degree was fine art, but I also did art and feminism. And I did a lot of stuff around it's changed now, but the male gaze and women's body image, dysmorphia, thinking about, there's a lot of work that I did. And I still do some of it now where my degree showpiece was this huge 6-foot panel that I'd made to look like a fridge door, and I put what looked like torn up magazine cuttings, but I'd painted them on the front. But it was like a mixture of like the ideal female form based on Barbie if she was scaled up. So it's like 5'6" is like the average height of actually the average height of a woman is like 5'4" or something in the UK, I think. That, but she's like, so say if it was Barbie, she'd be about 5'6", 5'7", have a hip to waist ratio of fuck all, and then her legs obviously like super, super long. And then I started to create these like hashed up images of what society thought women should be. You project them up at the right size, and people are like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Whoa. And then you're like, yeah, that's Barbie.
I've always had fantastic. Like, have you got a picture of that up anywhere on
I've got some on my website.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when then during the pandemic, so this is interesting because I spent a lot of time on my own during the pandemic, first time talking about being a creative, being on your own, like whoa,
in your own head.
In your own head, like potentially was a dark time. But I ended up, so I used to collect like fashion magazines as well, which obviously at that time fed into the narrative around like, you know, this waif culture and women being a certain way and a certain size, and how now that's changed. Obviously kickboxing and actually strength is more important than being thin. But anyway, I had all these magazines, and I used to cut them up obviously for like the collage type stuff that I did, but not being able to have access to studio spaces and, you know, just being able to make a mess. I started to do more like spray painting. I also realised at that time, I think there's something going on here with like the kickboxing, this kind of like internal rage that I haven't processed and don't understand how to do it. And then it comes out in the work. So there's a lot of spray painting. There was a lot of like cutting up, literally ripping up magazines and then kind of building them back up to create these images, which is kind of more what I'm working on now, just because I've got some space and time restrictions.
Yeah, any creativity, when you look back, film, music, anything, it's always going to reflect the person at that time.
Yeah.
Like you can't, it's you saying something, having to get something out.
Yeah.
With regard to the feminism thing, do you have any modern feminists that you respect? Because I always think of older ones that when
it's a good question, because a lot of the books that I'm reading at the moment, you know, Susan Sontag, on women books, she wrote that in like the 80s, and then some of these other texts that I've got right now, thinking about like Pandora's box, and that's one of the works that I did, thinking about like conceptualizing Pandora's box and like leashing all the like evils into the world and stuff. But there's a lot of, the problem that I have is, for me to get familiar with a lot of these kind of new age thinking feminists now, a lot of them are on Instagram, or a lot of them are, you know, are they
half-sold?
Have they got, you know, the credibility? Are they actually who they say they are? Are they just people online?
When Sinead O'Connell died recently, I followed her.
Yeah.
She's the real deal.
Yeah, she is.
She's never got the Jews. She's the real deal.
Yeah.
Where you almost can't imagine that, you know, being in your 20s and ripping up a picture of the Pope because of the paedophilia thing 25, 30 years before it came out.
Yeah.
With your agent, she said like when she wanted to do a show in New York, said, you can't say anything about the Pope in New York. Like, and she still ripped him. She said, you'll never work in America. And she didn't.
Yeah.
And you're in your 20s. Now you think where everything's sold, I'll even give you it for free. That's like, feminism.
Yeah, but do you think her career kind of...
Well, she never worked in America because they wouldn't have her back. New York, you're going to rip up a picture of the Catholic back then.
Yeah, no,
and
I remember seeing that and being like...
And you're in your 20s, shaved head, by the way, so that's a big deal. And she had suffered with mental health, but in the interview she said, I was getting mental health advice in Ireland in the 90s as a woman. They were just giving her sledgehammer drugs. They didn't know what the hell to do with her.
No.
And she's still stuck with, and even to the point where, what was her name? Oh, give me some female pop stars, young ones. There's one of like the main ones.
I'm not very good at pop.
I'd know the name if I saw it.
What's it in relation to?
Well, she was saying about a quote that one of them sort of copied her black and white to the screen, like with a tear.
Oh, okay.
What, like a Taylor
she was
swinging
Swift
on a ball. No, that sort of name. But
Miley Cyrus.
That was it, Miley. And she said, it was about 5 years before she died. She said, oh yeah, it's like an homage to, and she tweeted back, it was like, I can't remember the exact words, but she said, I don't know what part of swinging on a ball in your underwear is feminism, but thanks anyway. And I thought, yeah, the sort of, really? Try grow up in Ireland as a woman in the 80s and ripping up pictures of the Pope
Yeah.
and you're sort of selling your soul for the, like, 'cause that's the only problem. And it gets weird when a man talks about feminism, because when I was young, when I was trying to do personal development, I looked for people that struggled, and I had to go to women, gay men, black people, proper struggle, because I was in the shit.
Yeah.
I wasn't middle class. Oh, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
No, I mean, like, I haven't got food, I've got a shoplift, and I'm on the horrible things that happen, not on the gutter, in the sewer.
Yeah.
So I would only look for people that were genuine. So when people would have, like Beyonce, and she's feminist, you go, what part of feminist is being on the floor on your hands and knees with your arse in the air?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Yeah.
That's what you're doing, is prostituting kids.
Yeah.
You're giving them what they want.
Yeah.
There was a guy, oh God, who was it? There's a woman, I can't remember her name now. She was a black woman, I think it was the 18th century, and she was brought around as a sort of freak circus because of the size of her bum. And there's horrible things. I can't remember her name. And they want to make a film about her, but it was horrible because she was raped and she was brought around like London and all that. And it's just because she had a big bum they got from Africa. I can't remember her name. It's really embarrassing. But they went back to her. They were going to do a film, and Beyonce wanted to do the film, and so they went back to the tribe still exists because she was kidnapped by the Dutch, I think, and brought over here. So she had a Dutch name, that was it. I can't remember, but the tribe she came from is called the Khoikhoi tribe. And so they went back to the tribe that's still going, and they said, oh, like, they want to make I'm so embarrassed I don't know the woman's name. But anyway, they want to make a film about her, and Beyonce want to play it. And he just said, just like, basically, because he's not in the media, he said, not only is Beyonce not suitable, but she lacks the basic dignity to play so-and-so's name. I just remember they go, there we go. How dare you prostitute her for your... But you want to shut... Remember those words? You lack the basic dignity of that slave woman. I thought that's perfect. Yeah. But I remember Sinead O'Connor, even when she was doing things at the time, I thought, she's got a pair of... But now looking back, you go, God damn, she stuck with that to the end. She didn't give a fuck. And mental health, and speaking about mental health, you know, Stephen Fry gets a lot. Try that as a woman in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly.
Talking about you, man, didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
Your agent says to you, do not do anything. On that day, you will never work in this country again. Shh, nothing to gain, everything to lose.
It makes me think about like fame more broadly, and you know, if you are these people, I'm getting the sense, and I'm definitely one of these people, that I get to a certain point and I find myself just like repelling, or, you know, if it was to get too much, someone was like, oh, you're going to be this successful and this is going to happen. And then like pop culture takes over, and then, oh, you're going to be all over the internet. I'm like, no, thank you. It's not what I want. Yeah. And actually I find that for like true creatives that have like that real rawness in them and are really individual and kind of have a pride in what they're doing.
Yeah.
No, in a way, like you kind of don't get to that point, do you? They're not interested because they know it's bullshit.
Yeah, I've heard that Beyonce has like a team of writers, and that literally she'll just pick.
Well, it's like Damien Hirst, isn't it? Damien
Hirst
does not do his own work. He employs a bunch of 21-year-olds to sit there and
there's a guy on the radio.
He said he met
who was the main male pop star? Like oh god, he's probably out of date now. But anyway, so a comedian met him. And he said, look, if you just tweet out that you like me with your 50 million followers, you'll change my life with one tweet. And the guy said, I don't have nothing to do with that. He said, they just tell me to take a photograph and I send it to a company and then they do the rest. Because everything's been prostituted. Yeah, exactly. Even really, and again, it's not my place to say, but to a degree, feminism is being prostituted. So I say, like, greatest feminists, right, you can think of. Yeah. Movies, because men would put posters, or boys would put posters up of the women. It's... who's the two? So Linda Hamilton in Terminator.
Yeah.
Greatest feminist. You know why? Because it was real. Because she starts off in that with a guy saying, you're going to be a future warrior. And she says, I can't be a warrior. She said, I can't even pay my bills. Yeah. Like, I can't handle my credit card.
Yeah.
And then they have that moment where she's saying, I can't do this and can't do that. And then the guy that's come to save her gets shot and he goes down. And she sort of looks around and she grabs him and she wraps his arm and she says, get up, soldier. And then she drags him in. And then what you see is the arc of being a normal person facing up to the struggle and becoming the person. So we're men liked her. Yeah. And Sigourney Weaver in Alien, the first Alien, where they give her a gun going, I can't shoot people. I don't know. I'm not a soldier. And then she faces up to, I can't do this. And then she grabs the gun. Then she shoots the thing and blah, blah, blah. And you go, that's what it is. But what they've done now with it, I saw the Predator film with a young girl, and it's just, I'm 14 and I'm amazing, and you're all holding me down, and suddenly you can beat people up, and I'm amazing from the start. And you go, but that's a lie. That you're a 14-year-old. Where's the arc there? That's just saying, I'm amazing. I'm better than everyone. Everyone's holding me down. And you should all see how amazing you are. No, we should see how weak you are. And let you grow. And that becomes real.
And you need to understand the context and the patriarchal society and all its levels, right? And how we have to battle some of these things.
Yeah, but
you can't just have it given to you on a plate and told.
Yeah, you can't.
You can go and do X, Y, Z, and actually you don't understand.
And you know that's fake, and that's why it becomes antagonistic to other people because they go, "Well, it's bollocks." That's no. But then you can go back to nowadays with people love Limo Hamilton and Terminator and Sigourney Weaver because you saw somebody goes, "I can't do that's not me," and then become the hero because you face up to it. But you don't have that now because it's not what it is. I'm an amazing teenager and you all I don't understand and I've got these amazing powers. You go, but it's nothing. But so what you're doing with, like I say, show don't tell, just do your thing. And like Malcolm X said, he said, why is your message of being like, fuck them, I'm not doing this anymore, fuck them, I'm as good as you. He said, because the season had to change and it had to catch up. I mean, I remember talking about podcasts 20 years ago, talking about doing podcast itself and people were laughing at me at the BBC, who I love, and talking about uncut podcasts and long form, which was mental. They were talking about 15-minute ones.
Curated.
And it just came back and it did nothing but on my own. I just think, you fucking told you. I fucking knew from the...
Melanie, what passion projects have you got coming up?
Passion project. Everything's a passion project, isn't it?
Yeah, perfect. That's it.
I don't see it in that way. Like I don't, and it's where people talk about like the work-life balance. I don't really factor that in because I want to.
I just do my stuff that I like doing.
Basically,
yeah. So there's nothing sort of.
I mean, the podcast.
What's
the podcast.
Next on the?
So the podcast, I've actually just I've trademarked the name, so my trademark's gone through. So I'm going to get some for Modern Renaissance Woman.
Oh, okay, right.
So I'm going to get some. Talk about branding.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and put some merch out there, but as a more strategic way to promote it. And I think it comes to some of the points you were saying, but this fine line between branding, getting yourself out there, and I want it to be a community, and I want to, like, as I said before, like amplify the voices of these really interesting women and find really interesting women and put them out there. And I don't know where this thing is going to go, but merch for me I love a hoodie and I love a sticker on my laptop, so I'm going to maybe make some of them and kind of see where that goes. But I think passion projects for me in that sense, I want to do a bit more kickboxing. I want to, make sure that I have an art practice that I feel is relevant to, my life and what I'm doing weekly. And I think it's just integrating those things in so that I know that when I get up, I'm excited about my day.
You should always put yourself on like an acting thing or an extras thing because I notice a lot of creatives because you're always internal. They're always good actors because you're always struggling. So every emotion you've already felt it. So I would meet people that had never acted. I knew they'd be good because I knew that they're always suppressing they've already felt every emotion at 25. There's nothing. And I've met people that came out of university for acting that had a really good life, and I'm telling you now, they were hollow, and that's when the acting became mechanical. And because they don't know that when you're miserable, you do nothing, you just stare. They hadn't felt that yet. And again, I'd just say, do some acting, shitty acting thing, do an extras thing, because you just keep throwing stuff out. And as I said, I think it's a skill for people that are creatives. They can act very well and they don't know it because it's like writing as well. Just write it, write stuff down. Your story, the worst bits about you, the most boring bits could be the bit that other people go, I never felt, I'd never seen that before.
Totally.
So when I talking about entrepreneurship and all that, I knew at the start my thing would be to tell you all the bits in between, the miserable, embarrassing, humiliating, not my struggle with poverty and the day I left home. I said, it's so embarrassing. But I've said about sleeping in a bin. I was climbed into a bin once because the rats were biting me when I was on the floor. So staring at a wall, running a magazine and the electricity going off and sitting there in my Dr. Martens at 5 o'clock in the afternoon with no food and telling them all the boring shit. And that's not sexy.
But it's not the boring stuff because it gives substance, doesn't it?
No, because what I wanted everyone to go, well, he's done that from there. because I would look at Oprah Winfrey and Malcolm X and go, well, I haven't had it that bad. As bad as it's been, I didn't grow up as a black man or woman in the 50s. So that was okay. So I can't complain. There's nobody to moan at because it's already been done. So I thought, right, in my modern day, if I tell them, because my life shouldn't be existing now. It should have been like in the 19th century. And I don't tell anybody anything. They all know little bits. Because if I told everything, it'd be like Munchausen's. They'd go, he's obviously bullshitting. I thought, let people find it out, trying to disprove things. They'll find the story out for me. But I thought, no, that would be my thing. And bearing in mind, it was only the owner of Time Out International that sat with me. And I hadn't thought about stories about background. I was embarrassed by it. And he said, this wouldn't have worked 20 years ago with the Anthony Robbins and Greed is Good and showing off and glitz and the ugliness of the 80s and everything's over the top. He said it's like a boring story that's like grimy and nothing, and it's dragging yourself through something.
Yeah.
That's what
it's not the sexy story that people want to hear, is it?
So that's why I said with your podcast, well, I said about show, don't tell. That could be the branding thing, modern relations woman, show, don't tell. Because it's like personal development. My thing, forget telling me stuff. Just show me somebody that's done something. There we go. You can stick that on the branding. And you've got a guest. And I might have a couple of people for you.
Amazing.
So that goes to prove what I said about opening doors. No, you didn't have to turn up here. You could have the other stuff to do. But you've met some other people. We've got other stuff going on. And whenever I meet people, I'm always sticking them in other projects that I'm doing. But that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about. Yeah. Just doing stuff opens up other doors.
100%.
And it's like that what I said about the laughter. You always have to almost keep in your head of fresh air coming in. You say, what fresh air have I got coming in this week and next week, and what's breezing through? Because those open doors open other doors. And somebody that told me many years ago, when you meet somebody and they like you, remember they're connecting you to everyone else that they know. You're there. Don't try and do things on your own. That's when it's lonely, and that's what bloody creatives do. They retreat, but you have to force yourself back and see. I have to be around other people doing other stuff. And have to be likable. In fact, the owner of Time Out, I asked him a question at everything. Tell me something that you would tell yourself that isn't bollocks. Don't tell me about be yourself. I know all that shit. That's
don't need a bumper sticker.
Yeah, don't tell me something. He said the best advice I could. He said it's hard to say no to people you like. I thought that's it.
And also the 5 degrees of separation or whatever it is. We're only 5 degrees away from, or 5 connections away from. We're all so interrelated, aren't we?
I went to CEOs because he said, when you meet people, don't forget, if they like you, you now know everyone they've ever met. All their life. They know 1,000 people. And you don't know anyone. And you know them. And they say, they're thinking about all the other people they've ever... That's a lot of people through that one person. If they like you.
Exactly.
So that's being nice
and that's how the guests are coming on the podcast, because... I meet one really interesting person that's got this amazing network, and then I meet another one. And there's a whole other network, and then it snowballs. So.
Yeah, it's one of the nicer bits, definitely, of the podcast. I think just meeting people from completely different walks.
Yeah, and it's not work. I mean, there's a little bit of work,
but feel like work.
Yeah, and you never know what doors that's going to open. You've opened up kicked the big door open to do I don't know why everyone doesn't do podcasting. Really, it's not really.
And it's funny because it's one of those things. And as I was saying before about like repelling from societal norms or whatever. People talking now about, I've got a podcast. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person. But for me, it's a mechanism. But, I'm not just like, I've got a podcast. Like, I don't really talk about it. And I didn't tell anyone about it until the day it was I put it out live. I didn't tell anyone. I just did it, recorded a few episodes, and then put it out. And everyone was like, what the fuck? Like, I had no idea you were doing this. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. You think I've just been sitting at home doing naffle?
When the podcast starting up again? Season 2?
So it's already, so I'm recording now.
Oh, okay. Right.
So I'll try to put them out weekly.
Right.
I wouldn't say that I'm even thinking about it. I have foresight. I am the type of person that, is very systems minded and that type of thing. But strategically, I think I'm also just leaning into what happens with it. Yeah. So I know, and I've been thinking about, how could I get sponsors? And sponsors are all about downloads and, product placement and all of these things, and I'm like, I'm not there yet, and actually that's fine because I don't have the time to do that. So actually I'd just like to get a few more under my belt and see where it goes. But end of the year there'll be another 8 if not more.
There you go.
So
on that note, thank you for reminding me. She kicked me under the table. I didn't realise. Very good marketing.
It was a low kick.
Yeah, it wasn't a thigh kick. You haven't disabled me. I'd like to say thank you to Alt Water for sponsoring the show. Sparkling and still water. Look at that. As an artist, what did you say before? I didn't even say it. I handed you the bottle, and you said that looks really nice, didn't you?
It did look nice. Yeah, I think it does look nice. Yeah, tastes good too.
There you go. Fantastic. So thank you very much, and we will see you next week.
Thank you
Thanks
for
a lot.
watching.
Thank you.
Cheers,
Bye-bye.
guys.
Thanks.